Hello, I'm Joseph Nolent, and today I'll be talking to you TED Talk style about the importance and impacts of building positive relationships and with adults and higher education students. A good working relationship between the teacher and student in the classroom is essential to fostering mutual respect and trust. This relationship can include getting to know your students better, giving them choices, and motivating them to improve as learners each day. Teachers who act in this way are respected by their students, are shown to value the uniqueness of their students, and are also viewed as kind. Teacher-student relationships can increase academic performance, lower chronic absenteeism, foster self-motivation, develop self-regulation, and enhance goal-setting abilities. Positive interactions with your students not only increases their academic progress, but also creates a friendly and safe environment for all students within the classroom. Teacher-student connections further inspire children to work hard because they know that someone is genuinely interested in them. And these connections are necessary for teachers to evaluate the success of their classroom instructions. Awesome. Students, or more specifically, higher education learners, are highly invested in furthering their academic goals. But that being said, a positive relationship rapport can go a long way to foster a more successful classroom. Employing informal room arrangements, such as a circle, a U, or dealing with the complete person rather than just like a number in the system, as they would say in a movie or a uh, preteen type book. Um, Addressing students as equals because most times they're around the same age as the teachers themselves. And sharing authority in order to establish rapport with adults in the learning environment is vital to this goal. And the little things matter at the end of the day. And that's what starts the first impression you have is with the little things that you converse with your students. It could be simple as a smile or handshake or a steady gaze or calling their name. All of these engage the student and will excite them to come back because they know that the teacher is invested beyond just teaching the lesson. And this usually is taken during the first few minutes of the first lesson you teach. The student will judge you as a person, a teacher, an individual during this time. And it is up to you as the teacher to instill in your students a sense of confidence that you want to be there, you care about them as a learner, and you're going to be able to be approachable enough to be a teacher or friend. Because I know firsthand there's nothing worse than questioning whether to ask for help in a lesson. Um, and if it will result in a judgment or punishment, um, just by the response of the teacher. Therefore, students should feel comfortable approaching their teacher when they need advice. And when teaching, it's also important to note that you might be dealing with people who don't necessarily share your worldview or way of life. So, dealing with that adversity is very important. And one way to go about that is the understanding tolerance, because tolerance of different points of view is crucial in the classroom. And tolerance does not need you to share everyone's point of view, so you don't need to be thinking exactly like everyone else, but or even to mute your own points of view. But instead, tolerance involves encouraging open dialogue and conversation with others, particularly those whose perspectives aren't shared by you. And teachers should make the effort to educate themselves about other points of view, keeping that mind open, because learning is not a sprint, as they say, it's a marathon or a lifelong pursuit. And in that learning of the um, different points of view, um, you're going to most likely find some points of contention with students. And the best way to approach that is simply not challenging them, just keeping your opinion to yourself until you resolve the issue in maybe using a calming technique, which is something that I personally use, um, where you take a deep breath and you imagine that you're in a academic environment and that you're not the goal isn't to be contentious, but rather to um, rather to further the conversation, and because it's bound to happen that you're going to disagree with your classmates or students. Um, but hopefully, if you both collect yourselves before you say your next set of words, maybe you'll find some kind of resolution, or at the very least, at the end of the day, agree to disagree about your opinion. Likewise, um, going back a little to the mute part, is not to suggest that you should just be quiet and do nothing. It's just an example of discourse. And I gave one technique, a breathing technique, that will help with that. Because um, the world is vast and diverse, and you don't want to offend anyone, and unintentional offense is quite rampant. And since the classroom is considered a sacred space for all students, um, and the whole point is there for them to progress in their academic pursuits, um, and to make their own solid opinions based on science, history, literature, current events, and the outside world. So give them those opportunities to make their opinions, and be open to keeping the classroom accessible and available to them if they should have an opinion they would like to discuss. And that leads into a greater theme of um, the needs and interests of the learner, because viewpoints are a very important part of one's interests. And adult learner education, it differs quite a bit compared to children's. Adult learners frequently prioritize family and work obligations over their education. And because of that, we need to get more personalized. So personalized learning approach is one of the best strategies to go about with adult learners, especially to figure out their needs and what interests them personally. Because developing a plan, offering lengthy text, and using smart technologies, and working together are all different ways that we can approach personalized learning. And students gain a lot from it because they can study the subjects at their own pace, whichever details that they may need further development. And if students like what they're learning, and feel that the approach to it all is something that they can contend with their busy work and life schedule, then they're more likely to not only succeed in the efforts, but also to complete all the work that is asked of them. And one approach that I personally take in my classes is self-assessment forms. I have them due in the beginning of the year. I check in like every month or two, and then at the end of the year to see how their plan might have changed, as well as if their approach to their further education might have changed as well. And this activity, to get a little more into it, this activity helps establish a benchmark for monitoring their own growth. And throughout the course, they're free to check this, so that way they can keep track of how they're doing, and the teacher as well can see what they personally might need, and can also give them materials that could skip over the things that they've acquired through whatever their educational, professional, or life experiences that have already given them the power to progress. And of course, the biggest part of the dashboard that they will be able to use, which is similar to what we have here at Grand Canyon University, but at least my form is goes a little more specific onto the strategic thinking, projected execution, time management, and with our group activity, there's a lot of group activities, so the project leadership as well. That's a lot of information, isn't it? But in the larger scheme of it all, the relationship is is based on understanding everyone's likes and differences. And because of that, one of the greatest differences is cultural and social differences that they may face. Because diversity in and out of the classroom will existentially or exponentially grow. So it's essential to prepare our students as well as ourselves to evolve in this world and embrace the different cultures within it. And there are several different techniques that can ensure that both the classroom environment and the curriculum are responsive to this increasing cultural diversity in our society. These strategies encourage all students' cultural awareness, enhance each student's sense of identity, and foster inclusion in the classroom community. Ensuring that the cultural awareness is promoted in the classroom starts with the teacher's understanding of each individual student. So it goes back to that assessment and rapport with the student. And as I said about the one-on-one meetings is a great way to check in and see how they're doing throughout the semester. And opening up that dialogue with those differing viewpoints and life experiences. Because this allows a better understanding of not only their own cultural, because there might be people that have different cultural aspects from the same country, or might have similar aspects from different countries, but they can further evolve the more worldly connection between everyone as a whole. Because looking at it through Christian eyes, we're all humans at the end of the day. We're all want to be treated as we would treat others as we want to be treated ourselves. So part of that is understanding what the differences that also bring us closer and connecting on a more spiritual and physical level. And traditionally speaking, teachers often feel like they need a strict and authoritative approach when it comes to classroom, but in my opinion, that's a little outdated. Because nowadays, we're more student-centric, and so the center of the class is the students, not just the teaching process and the information being provided, but the student themselves as an individual. It's important to know what they bring to the table, what they require for full understanding and accessibility within the classroom, as well as the ability to voice whatever they may have in the classroom without worry of judgment or punishment. So, using different diversity platforms might help in allowing this community of diverse individuals to create their own community in the classroom, and thus make those differences, the wall of differences that they may have, seem that much thinner or non-existent as time progresses. So by now, everyone's probably getting a little antsy because that was a lot of information, and I brought up quite a few points about the importance and impacts of the positive relationships and rapport within the classroom for adult and higher education learners. Some of those concepts included, but not exclusive to, teaching theories, cultural and social diversity inclusions, viewpoint adversity, as well as teacher-student rapport and relationships. I hope all of you feel a little bit more confident in posing similar concepts, or if you so choose, the same concepts that I use in my classroom and I use with my students. But at the very least, I hope you were entertained by my charming demeanor. But joking aside, thank you for giving me your attention, and I was your presenter, Joseph Nolent. Thank you.